Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Education Foundation Impact. I'm Shelley Pierce, Development and Community Relations Manager for the Education Foundation. Joining me today is Dr. Gerald Hain, who is the Director of Advanced Academics for School District 2. Thank you for being here, Gerald.
It's a pleasure.
We've got a lot of exciting things happening in School District 2 right now. It is amazing to see some of the changes, some of the things coming up. And so we're going to spend some time talking about some of those new things today. And really just give an opportunity to educate people on kind of what's going on, what's been happening. And so first, I'll just ask you, Gerald, just give us a little background kind of on yourself and your history with School District 2.
I'd be happy to. I've actually been with School District 2 for over 21 years. I started working in a grant program to do after school and summer programs at the elementary level. Prior to that, I've been both a middle school and high school teacher in both public and private schools in different places around the country, but have been happy to be a Montanan for over 23 years now. But as I then transitioned from that position to being an assistant principal at senior high school for 3 years, and then the last 15 years, I was the associate principal at West High School. And this August, Dr. Garcia hired me to be the Director of Advanced Academics for Billings Public Schools, which is a new position. For the last, I would say, 6 to 10 years, there's been a strong emphasis on career and CTE. Under our previous superintendent, Greg Upham, he talked all the time about college career, college career, college career. We have Bo Brunsma, who has been our Director of Career and Community Outreach for about 5 years now. And so Dr. Garcia asked the question, well, what about the college end of that? Having been a high school administrator for the last 18 plus years in Billings Public Schools, I have seen our increases in CTE offerings, dual credit, advanced placement, and university connections. And I've seen those things grow and take hold. And so I was very excited to step into this position and make an impact on a district level and a community level to see what else can we do to strengthen opportunities for students.
Yeah, and when you say CTE, what does that stand for?
Career and Technical Education.
Okay, thank you. There's always
You're
acronyms with every job and every position, and so I just wanted to make sure people understood what CTE are. So you have obviously a long history within School District 2 and have seen lots of changes, I'm sure, over the course of your 18 years. What's been your favorite thing to be a part of?
Oh my goodness.
I put you on the spot.
You did. I didn't know that one was coming. I love working with the students and the staff in this district and in this community. And it really is difficult to pick one thing. I would say that this opportunity has been amazing. I feel like this position and what I've been asked to do in it is a culmination of so many things that our district has been striving for, and it's a natural next step. I feel like what's come before has put us in a great position to launch into some new things in response to what our community has said they'd like us to focus on. And so that's just exciting. And I still get to work with the folks at West High, where I was for 15 years. I get to circle back and work with senior more, getting an opportunity to work more with Skyview, our career center, and our whole community has been fun.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but
that's all right.
You did a great job. But so let's talk about this new position that you were hired to take on and what that has meant for us. We're going to spend some time today talking about the Billings Early College School, which is a new school, a new program of the district that was just recently approved by the school board. And so we're going to just really spend some time just talking to that, asking those questions that people may be not understanding. Sometimes, things come across in the media or people don't understand what does this mean. And so hopefully we'll be able to address all of those questions today. But let's just talk about what is the definition of a public charter school?
And actually, public charter schools are new in Montana. The process that we went through was established by our state legislature under House Bill 549 in the last legislative session. And so what that did is set a mechanism in place to have within current school boards and school districts the opportunity to create a public charter school that would operate under your school board, but serve a specific need. They were specifically looking for innovation and expanding opportunities for students. In School District 2, there were some needs that were already coming to the surface. One is expanding those opportunities for students under the early college school. The need that that's really looking at is, if you look at the things I mentioned earlier, look at our Career Center and the CTE offerings out there, our dual credit within our building, university connections that students access through the college, as well as the increase in AP programs and offerings in our district. We've seen a strong increase in all of those things. However, you add all those numbers up, and there's still a significant portion of our high school students who aren't involved in any of those. So looking at how do we do those things better in a more targeted way. So actually the idea of an early college school kind of came before the decision to apply to be a public charter school. What we did is, actually when I was hired, Dr. Garcia was like, great, welcome aboard. I want you to start an early college school. And I'm like, okay, awesome, I'll do that. Then I had to go research what it was, because I'd never heard of one.
What does that mean?
Yeah, right. There's currently over 400 early college schools across the country. There are none in Montana. In my role as the associate principal at West High, I would enroll students from Washington State, where they have Running Start, which is like a statewide early college program, and students who would come from other states where they have this opportunity. And parents would say, my kid was on track to get an associate's degree. How do they do that here? And I have to say, we don't have that here.
Yeah.
And so this really fit well. The more I researched it, the more I realized this does fit a need that we have, and a more targeted pathway and a more deliberate use of those dual credit opportunities for students. Then when the charter school application was released, which it wasn't released until September 26th. So the people who are like, wow, this is happening fast. This is a new bill. It was passed by the last state legislature. It's under the Board of Public Education. They released the application September 26th. The applications were due November 1st. So we had just over a month to put these ideas together and to see the public charter school, what it brings, what that designation brings, is a clear distinction that this is an innovative new opportunity for students. There is also funding attached to it. So rather than just trying to do something new and innovative with our general fund, there is additional funding that comes with this, base funding and per student A and B that comes with that, that can help. So for people out there who are like, how are we going to afford to do this? By becoming a public charter school, we were able to secure funding to support these opportunities.
No, that's amazing. And, that's what people always want to know is how, how is this being funded? And so I think people can be confident knowing like this is not coming out of our general school district budget. And, we are getting some funds. So you're saying that, kind of the driving force behind this was to try to meet this need of this kind of unmet need that we weren't offering between the dual credits and the advanced placement kinds of classes. And so was there any other kind of impetus between or, to get this going?
Absolutely. When Dr. Garcia was hired, he did a community survey. And as part of that survey, he reached out to students, staff, parents, community members, and looked closely at that data and kind of organized it into what are the areas where we scored the lowest, where are the greatest concerns and the greatest needs, and turn those things, those challenges. It's been very clear. If people have been to the community meetings, which have been numerous, almost every Tuesday night, there's been a community meeting someplace, getting out there, listening to the public, and being able to articulate, you know what, we listened to what you said in those surveys, identified challenges and turned those into action areas and goals. And as part of that, expanding college, career, and military pathways for students was identified as an area of need. So the Billings Early College School is going to address what the community said they wanted to see, which is expanded college opportunities. Another charter school application that we were successful in submitting and having approved is the Billings Opportunity School, which is going to address the community need of how do we have alternative pathways to a high school diploma for students. We also have been named a resettlement city. So we are starting to see and have seen over the last 4 or 5 years a significant increase in students who come to our community who don't speak any English. Yeah. So the Billings Multilingual Academy, which also was approved as a public charter school, and again, 3 applications, all 3 were funded, and all 3 have Board of Public Ed support, OPI support, and funding to back them in order to meet identified needs. It kind of feels like we already had the mechanism in place by identifying these needs, and then these ideas came along and they were a perfect match for the Billings public or the state public charter school process.
Absolutely. Well, and on the screen behind us, these are kind of those priority areas you just briefly touched on.
Yes.
That many people may have seen some of these. They're in a lot of communications, and it's kind of been the guiding principles, really,
Absolutely.
for you all. And Dr. Sia's, vision for School District 2, and so I know that's been kind of the guide of helping you identify, where these, what direction are we going and what are we doing?
Right.
And so you referenced the 3 charter schools that we were just accepted for. We're going to talk about the Billings Early College School. I think we need another interview to talk about the other. We could have an interview on each one of these schools, I think. So, but today we're really going to focus on that Billings Early College School, and then hopefully in a future interview we can talk about the Opportunity School as well as the bilingual or multi-language school. So, but we're going to focus on the Billings Early College School today. So let's talk about that. The first in Montana. I mean, that is huge.
I'm super excited about that, and being able to have Billings lead the state. And in fact, we heard as soon as we submitted our application, those applications, if anybody wants to read them, they're online. If you go to the Board of Public Ed under charter schools, you can see our application. Yeah. It's been public since it was submitted, and there's a lot of buzz in the state. Yeah. We had people reach out to us, and I've even heard from Angela McLean, who was a former lieutenant governor here in Montana. She now works for the Office of the Commission of Higher Education and the Montana University System. She reached out and said, the Montana University System wants to know how they can support this. Yeah. And so we're excited. We'd love to be the model for the state.
Absolutely. Do you know if there were other applications for a similar project or?
No. We were, this was very unique, and there were 7 votes, and Billings Early College School got 7 out of 7 to move forward and approve this.
That's amazing. Well done. Well done on your application. All right, well, let's talk about it. What does the Billings Early College School mean? What will it do? What will it mean for our students, our community, our families?
Absolutely. What makes the early college school concept unique is unlike what we already have in place, which is a handful of credits that students are taking mainly to address their general requirements when they go to college. An early college school is a very targeted pathway that is designed from the freshman year on to focus on high school graduation requirements in 9th and 10th grade, and then move students hopefully full-time onto the college campus in 11th and 12th grade, and give them the chance not to just get a handful of credits. Federal definition says it has to be at least 12 credits, which is 4 classes typically, but credits up to an associate degree, which is 60 credits.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
It is.
That's 2 years of college that students will have the opportunity to work towards and have when they graduate high school. Imagine being able to, in the same month, get a high school diploma and an associate's degree. We have been in the video that I think went live yesterday on Facebook. We filmed that video before we had our approval for the charter school, so it didn't mention that. But in that video, we talk about how we have been exploring partnerships right here in Billings with MSUB and Rocky. We have 2 amazing colleges right here in town. Why wouldn't we start there?
Right.
For our application, we had letters of support that we were exploring partnerships. After we were approved for a charter school, we got a letter of commitment from Chancellor Hickswa with MSUB. They are committed to this partnership, knowing that we have 2 years to figure out the details. Right. Already we've had some questions that want to know, so 2 years from now, what does this look like? Right. We are still working on those. As we've laid out in this timeline, things have moved very quickly. because the ideas, what our community has said, the ideas, the charter application, and now the approval, we are ready. We have a webpage on the Billings Schools webpage. If you go under our schools, either under Billings Public Charter Schools or under high schools, you can access the Billings Early College School webpage. It will answer a ton of questions there. And there's also an application for current 8th graders who are going to be 9th graders next year. Parents can click on that and they can start the application process. Those applications are due by March 1. I know, well, maybe I might be jumping ahead a little bit, but
sorry.
that's because we are currently registering all students for next year. And what we need to do then is actually, starting March 4th, we're going to be looking at numbers and staffing and what courses do we offer, what do we not offer. In the early college school, we're planning for 125 seats. Our charter school application requires, or our approval requires, if we have more than 125 applications, we have to do a lottery process. So in order to do that, we need to let parents and students know, are you in or are you on the waiting list? And so that'll help us with our planning for next year to make sure that we're ready to go. But it is super exciting to know that those first 2 years, they will be half day in the early college school, which is going to be located at the Washington Innovation Center, the other half of the day at their home high school. And the reason we designed it that way is I was very deliberate in the research I did. Most early college schools are full-time. Kids are there all day. They don't have another connection, but they also don't have clubs, sports, music, athletics, activities, world languages, any of those things. So our mantra has been from day one that I've heard Dr. Garcia talk about expanding opportunities, not limiting. So by doing half day at their home high school, which is Senior West or Skyview, and families do need to have their student registered at Senior West or Skyview in order to apply for the early college school, then they can spend half their day on their home campus. They can still access all of those things that a large comprehensive high school can offer. But in the early college school, we are going to target college readiness, and especially in English and in math, reading, writing, but also those other skills, organization, attendance, on time, homework completion, and all those things.
Preparing them for, going to college. And, sometimes those expectations are different than from high school to college, and kids aren't always prepared for those.
Absolutely. So by coming together, there is power in place, and coming together as a cohort. So we'll have an AM cohort of 3 periods and a PM cohort of 3 periods. And during that time, it'll be the same 3 teachers working with each cohort. This next year, the following year, we'll add 3 more as we then add a second year to the program and work up to, after 4 years, we should have between 400 and 500 students participating in the early college school.
So you've shared a lot of information. So I'm going to try to, no, it's great, but I'm going to kind of probably go back and recap some of it too, just to maybe expand upon some of it. But so it might be a similar model to maybe what some kids are going to the Career Center now. They spend, maybe their morning at the Career Center, and then they come to their home high school or home school in the afternoon, or vice versa. So kind of a similar model to that. So you mentioned kids starting in 8th, or you're looking at applications right now of kids in 8th grade, and maybe at an 8th grade level, parents don't know, how would they know, is this right for my child? Or, I think even for me, if I had to make that decision for my, 8th grader, I don't know if I would know what to do. How would you make that decision? Or so do you have any kind of feedback on, if this would be a good program for your child, and how would a parent or caregiver evaluate that?
Absolutely. To preface this a little bit, I did go around to all of our schools, all of our in-district middle schools and our outlying schools in December. And I had one school that couldn't get me until January, but we went around and I talked to 8th graders and kind of planted the seed and said, and tried to motivate them a little bit too, and say, if you think this might be your pathway, maybe now start getting better at attendance, start getting better at doing your homework and turning it in on time, advocating for yourself. So we kind of started with planting the seed with 8th graders, because we know they need to hear that message a few times before it might stick as they go into the registration process. Last night we had our 8th grade parent meetings at Senior West and Skyview, and I was at the West High one. We had a different leader at each of the schools in order to answer questions, and I had a parent also ask this question. My daughter's trying to decide between honors and AP or the Career Center or the early college school. Which one is the right one for them? And I think that one thing that's important to point out, what we have in place is not going away. Our honors and AP pathway serves a certain group of students really well. Our current Career Center opportunities and CTE opportunities, some of those require college courses. Some of them require maybe an associate's, maybe move on to a bachelor's. Some just require certifications. And of course, our home high schools have excellent offerings for students and preparing them for college or career, whatever they want to go into. So what I said to that parent last night is the first thing that I would suggest you and your student do, take a look at the website. Look at all the information on there. See if it resonates with you. The second thing is think about what does your student want to do after high school. If they already know what their area of interest is. The parent I talked to last night, they were like, well, we're thinking 3 different ones. Okay, so the next step is what college does that well? And ask the college. Reach out to that college. As a parent of 2 students who graduated from MSU in Bozeman, both out of the College of Engineering, but in different pathways. What they needed to take was different. What they needed to take in high school was different. If a student is planning on staying here in Montana and either going to Rocky or MSUB or another school in the Montana University system, this could be a great fit for them. We're not going to have honors or AP classes at the early college school, so those classes won't be weighted grades. College classes aren't weighted grades. So a student who wants to maybe go out of state to a highly selective college and that college wants to see AP, this isn't the pathway. It's not the pathway for every student.
Yeah.
Our honors and AP classes serve that group of students well. Yeah. I'm a first-generation college. Nobody in my family talked to me about college. When my friends started talking about it and I asked my parents, they're like, I don't know anything about that. So talk to your parents. Your parents may know. Mine didn't. Yeah. Your friends may know. Your school may know. Talk to your counselor, talk to your administrator, talk to your teachers. But this is an important message for maybe students and parents who were like, I didn't know this was an option. I didn't know if I could afford this option. Graduating high school with 2 years of college under your belt can have a huge impact on college. I had to pay my own way through every college degree I earned and actually through high school because I chose to go to a parochial school. My parents said, you want to do that? You pay for it. And I did. Having that support for families and students out there and letting them know this could be a viable option for you. At the bottom of that website, there is my contact information, also if parents have more questions. But do your research and talk to your kid and ask them, are they ready for that commitment? Because it is going to be a commitment to academics.
Yeah, I mean, you're asking them to start as a freshman and, you know, they'll be continuing on through their senior year of high school. And so it is a commitment. And so it's probably a decision most kids and families can't just take lightly. You know, it's really something they need to evaluate. And you may not know the answer to this question, but so a kid will be done with their degree or their high school and they'll have their 2-year degree. Do you have any kind of idea of what some of those degree options would look like, or like what kind of a program they might take while at the college school?
Yes, and so that was where actually I started some of my research. I learned what are the early college schools offer. And then I did look. I started with our local colleges. And if you go to Rocky Mountain College's website and MSUB's website, you will see they have associate degrees. They have bachelor's degrees. And what's interesting about this, and this is why this is such a targeted pathway, is because what math a student may need is going to be dependent upon, do they just want a general associate's or do they want an associate's that prepares them for a particular pathway? There might be a different math class you need for a different pathway. The math that my son, who's a mechanical engineer, needed was different than my son, who was a computer programmer. There's different levels of math, different levels of science, actually even different levels of English that they may need. So that's the beauty also of being our own program or our own school, is that if we want to, in that 3-period day, shorten those periods to bring in some guest speakers from MSUB, from Rocky, to talk to students about those pathways and those options. We want to have those conversations their freshman and sophomore year, so that when they start taking that really targeted pathway their junior year, that they will take the right math classes and they'll know what their options are. There are too many for me to list right now, because as I looked on the website, I'm like, this is amazing. And I'm very familiar with MSUB. I've taken classes at MSUB. I'm actually an adjunct professor at Rocky Mountain College in their Masters of Ed Leadership program. Very familiar with and have very positive experiences with both colleges. And we couldn't be happier that we're still exploring that partnership with Rocky, because they're a smaller campus, a private college. They really want targeted pathways, and we're going to have those conversations. And could not be more excited to have MSUB committed to a partnership. We already have a lot of things in place with them through our dual credit and university connections. So they've got a little bit of a jump start that we're going to be able to build on.
Yeah, wonderful. We're kind of wrapping up our time here. I told you it goes so quickly. These 28 minutes go so quickly. Whenever I ask somebody to come on an interview with me, they're terrified when I say 28 minutes, but it goes so quickly. But so we're going to I'm going to recap. So March 1st is the deadline for applications.
Correct.
And so where can parents find that application or families find that application?
On the Billings Early College webpage, which is on the Billings Public Schools website under our schools, either under high schools or Billings Public Charter Schools. And there's lots of information on the page, and the link to the applications at the bottom of the page. And that's because I want parents and students to read the whole page so that they know what they're applying for. And they'll be able to click on that and start the application. For this year, it's on a Google form. In future years, we're going to actually have it embedded in PowerSchool. So when parents register, they're going to be able to access it there. But they can go ahead and start filling out those applications. They're going to have to click some acknowledgments. Students will have to write a brief essay on why they want to be part of Billings Early College School, and give us an idea of maybe any intended pathways that they're exploring.
So website, billingsschools.org is the website. You can find the application there. Due March 1st, so that is coming up quickly. I mean, we're already halfway through February, I feel like. So it is coming. When do you anticipate knowing if students got in or not? I know you mentioned a lottery, if there's more than the 125 applicants.
Yes. And so I'm hoping to get exactly 125 and everybody gets in. And
everyone's happy.
And so what I will start looking at those applications probably over the weekend, because I just won't be able to resist, but definitely that following week, I will look at those applications. And if we have more than 125, if it's just one or two, no big deal. We can accommodate that. But if it is significantly over that, we will look at, I'm asking students, what is their current 8th grade school? And it could be anywhere. Industry schools or outlying schools or a homeschool. An 8th grade homeschooler can apply. They have to be registered for high school though, and then they can apply. And then we will look at kind of an equitable lottery, so that, for example, West High has over 600 kids more than Senior or Skyview. We're going to have an equitable representation, and even drill down all the way to what middle school did they come from, so that you don't have, every kid from Lewis and Clark gets in and nobody from Ben Steele and that kind of stuff. So we're going to look at that. There's no test score or GPA to get into Billings Early College School, although there are GPA requirements to get into that college level by their junior year. So hopefully, as soon as I can. This is our first time through, so I'm really scared to say you're going to know in a week. You're probably not going to know in a week, but as soon as I can, I'll go through that process, and we will have an equitable lottery system to make sure that students have the chance. And we will have a waiting list.
Yeah, well, it's exciting to know that this is the first in Montana. It's exciting to know that, this could be the model for other schools in the state, and exciting that you get to kind of make the program what works best for us. And so we're excited at the Education Foundation, just, to be, again, bringing more opportunities to our students that we support. And so we're really excited and look forward to seeing the growth of the early college school. And we will be bringing more information on the other public charter schools that we talked about.